Welcome to the Mystic Bamboo Forest, where today we shall talk about the fox that awaits me for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm playing the physical version, because you know me, always like those physical versions, but you can get this digitally on the American store, even though mine's a Japanese version, it does have English, but anyway. The Fox Awaits Me is a visual novel in the purest sense of traditional Japanese visual novels. You will have select choices that will decide a few outcomes, different endings, and illustrations and extras to unlock from collecting all that stuff. Now, the setup for this game, of course, being a pure visual novel, for those who aren't familiar with me, I only will go over a little bit at the beginning, and we will have a section near the end of the review where I will tell you where I will talk about Pacific spoilers. So, just as an introductory, though, you start out as a boy who wakes up in a bamboo forest, and he can't remember anything. But yet, this girl comes up to him and calls him master, and he keeps getting weird feelings that she's like a fox for some reason. You find out she is. She is actually a fox. If you're very familiar with Asian mythology with foxes, this game will probably pique your interest. I actually like mythology that's around fox myths, rumors, lore, and stuff in different Asian cultures. Japan and Korea have very interesting stories, lore, and mythological tales around foxes. And this borrows a fair number of things, so if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, you will see some of those elements. But essentially, the game goes along the course that you're trying to find out who you was and why was you just in the middle of the bamboo forest? What's going on? And you'll slowly meet other characters and slowly unravel this mystery. I would label this game as a comedy, romance, mystery type storyline. Though on the eShop, I believe it does throw in scary kind of horror kind of feeling vibes, and I mean, I kind of get what the game was referring to on that, but I wouldn't really count that as scary stuff myself. But I would call it a romantic comedy mystery story. The mystery being figuring out who you are and what your past is. The romance coming between the fox girl and several other characters, and the comedy. Oh boy, is this a comedy? It doesn't do as well as like Trigun, switching between being serious and comedy, in my opinion. Though I think few types of stories can really swap like that, like Trigun does. But there is a good number of comedy in this, lots of comedy. Now, music wise, I wouldn't say the music is mind blowing, but it does the job. There's a few good tracks. They mostly just complement the scenes and such. Backgrounds, or I think they're one of the weaker points in the game. The backgrounds are a bit. Some of them do the job, and some of them feel like there's like a city background that kind of feels like it's a real photo they threw in Photoshop and put all kinds of weird filters over it to make it have this weird kind of painting kind of look to it. Some of them just look kind of weird. Not exactly the highlight, but the highlight is definitely the characters. They use 2D Live, I believe it's called, to make moving, breathable looking anime characters. They are very done well, nicely. The only real problem with them is that when there's multiple of them, which in certain scenes there are quite a few characters sometimes on the screen at one time, you can notice like a really big dip in the frames because there's so many of them on screen at one time. But when it's just one or two, it's definitely fine with one. Two kind of depends on certain scenes, but definitely when it goes three and up, which very few go over three, but there are a few. They don't mesh well in the frame department, but they are very nice looking animations and everything. The characters look very nice. Now, the female cast, all younger looking characters, but they dealing with mythology. All the characters are actually old, all of that. Actually, if I can actually look specifically real quick, because one of the characters is always has to be that one character that looks really young, and all the characters do hit on you, which is probably a little criticism you could say about the game, because depending on your point of view, it's you could be how to put it. Some people like Tenchi Muyo, and other people like Matsumu. You have your different levels of fan service that you would, and this definitely has lots of fan service in it. It has no straight out nudity or anything in it. It being on the Nintendo Switch would make that really weird. There are a few compromising scenes that show a wee bit of skin, but nothing too ultimately crazy there. But there is a lot of fan service, and the characters do hit on the main character a lot. So if that ain't your cup of tea, then this is definitely a visual novel you want to stay away from. But there is the mystery, like I said. But outside the character animations, I'd say the character animations I think is a highlight of the visual novel. Now the story itself, I'll go more into the spoiler department, but just to give you the non-spoiler opinion on the story, I think overall the story was okay. The twist, I kind of had 3 ideas of what I think was going to be the twist of the story. And my third one was the closest to what ended up happening, with my initial one being the one that didn't even have anything remotely close to it happen. Now, like I said, I was familiar with some mythology about foxes and that, so I had an idea where some different directions of the story could be going on that sense. But if you're not familiar, you might be a little more oblivious than I was playing through it. But overall, I'd say you're definitely all going to get some hours out of this. I played, I think it took me about 20 hours to probably do literally everything. I did everything in the game. And outside of the 5 endings, which you have 3 bad endings, a normal ending, and the true ending, you get illustrations, some scenes, the movies. There is achievements listed in here. Kind of a weird tab to see on a Switch game. Not usually something you see too often. But there was a achievements page. You can get some info on the different characters and lore a little bit unlocked. Also, some of the last things you unlock, some extra sketches. You also get these weird bonus voice clips, but not just voice clips of audio from the game, but audio of the characters saying things like your battery is dying, you got mail, morning call and stuff. Kind of like those weird things that Japan has that you can talk to, like that thing from, what's that thing from Amazon? Alexandria? I don't even remember the thing's name. But Japan has things similar to that, and I feel like these are all things you can record and throw into those kind of things, or on your phone, or if you got a fancy phone that lets you do all kinds of sound setups and that. A bit odd to see in a visual novel game. Maybe that's more normal in modern games. I haven't played a classic kind of visual novel in a long time from Japan. We've had a lot of these 999 Puzzle Mortal Death Game kind of visual novels a lot these days. But on top of the storyline, you can unlock 7 additional short stories. These short stories, in my opinion, considering what happens in them, or I would gravely consider them non-canon. But they are funny, or the least, and some of them actually add a wee little bit to some of the characters too. But overall, they're pretty silly. from what I understand, you have to do all the endings to get the extra stories. FYI, to throw that out there. I could not find that information, so I literally had to keep unlocking everything I could, and that's what triggered them to unlock. So, just to let you know about that. But overall, I did like the game. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. But some of the problems that were in this game, because I think this being, it uses Unity, which can be good or bad. Unity has made a lot of good games, but because Unity's accessibility, it allows a lot of people to make some cheap games too. And I feel like the may had some optimization problems. Like I said, with having so many characters on screen, this frame loss. I mean, we're talking about a system that runs Dragon Quest 11 just fine. So I find it weird when there's like 3 to 5 characters on screen at one time, and I'm doing a very simple moving animation. It just seems kind of weird for it to lose a little bit. But the big old problem here is, and this only happens to thought bubbles, not the normal chat box, but when your character has inner thought bubble monologues that are just text overlaid over the background, sometimes for some reason they're shifted more to the right than they should be, sometimes cutting some of the text off, which obviously is not good in a visual novel. Luckily, I did find a very simple way to get around this. When you hit the B button on your Switch, it hides all the text. So if you want like a screenshot of something what's currently happening, if you hit B and hit back to show the text again, it rearranges it back in the middle properly. Annoying it is, but it's a fix. It gets around it and it's all good. So, but that is probably about the worst thing. There was one other thing that happened while I was playing this game, and I don't think it was the game, but I've never seen it happen ever before. But I was about an hour into this game, and all of a sudden my Switch said that the cart was removed from my Switch. And I thought that was very weird. I've never seen that before. So, and it did not happen again. I went, took it out and put it back in that. I've never had it happen again. I think that was just something about the Switch, but worth noting just in case. Just in case. Overall, if you're into visual novels, you want a bit of a comedy, because I really liked the emote faces that the main female lead does. She has a lot of funny emote faces. And I did look at some other people's criticisms and opinions. There's not too many reviews of this. Some people didn't get into the romance aspect because, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the female characters, they're very, very hitting on you hardcore a lot. So, if you're definitely looking for a non-fan servicey game, you definitely don't want to turn down this road. Lots of fan servicey, romancy crap. But I did see someone criticize the emote face that the female lead makes, and I actually personally love them. I even took screenshots of them because I think I might get some more faces drawn by an artist, perhaps. I kind of actually really liked them. I thought they had a bit of a unique how her eyes are drawn. You'll have to see during the gameplay, but I did like it. I don't think it's absolutely terrible, but again, it all depends on the right mindset going in, or if you, I mean, obviously, if you like harem kind of stuff, you probably won't have a problem with this game, though you don't get a really big harem. And probably one of the negatives for this is if you do like any of the other female characters, there is no alternate path to get with any of them. You only get with the female main lead. So while you can have scenes with the other characters, you don't ever get like a path where you get with them. So if you like any of the other characters, you're gonna get heartbroken, sadly, in that front. But I think it's worth a good $29.99. And that is a bit of an issue considering on the digital store, which is available on the American eShop, even though I have a Japanese version that has English subtitles on it. Which, to note, if you're interested in the physical version, it has Chinese, Korea, Japanese, and English subtitles with Japanese voiceovers only. I believe the American eShop one is pretty much just the same thing, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But as far as I know, it has no English voice acting as far as I'm aware of. But I actually couldn't find any real footage of anyone actually playing the digital version. The few people I could find that actually played the game only had the physical version that I have. So I think it's the same, but I can't guarantee it. I'm pretty sure, though, it still has Japanese voiceovers, I'm pretty sure, from what it seems. Now, the digital version is $44.99 digitally in American dollars, and the Play Asia is selling the physical version for $39.99 currently. So, minus the shipping, because you will obviously have to pay some shipping, but shipping wise, you're probably paying just around the same amount. Or if you have some way to get the shipping down or cheapen to that, you potentially can get actually cheaper physically then. As far as I know, it's not sold out anymore. You might be able to get a better deal on eBay, but personally, I feel like it's a better value around $29.99 myself. And even then, some people might argue I might be being a little lenient with it, with the price. I did like the story overall. I do had a few hiccups with it. There's a few things I feel a little odd, but everyone's gonna have a few subjective things where they're like, oh, that's kind of stupid. But if you're looking for a comedy, romancy, some fan service, visual novel that deals with mythology, folklore around Asian culture, I would definitely check out the game. If you're looking for a visual novel that has some other kind of gameplay like 999 and such, or Danganronpa, or Phoenix White, definitely do not go down this way. This is pure visual novel, and even choice-wise, even though it does have 5 endings, there was very little that dictates the different endings you get. There's pretty much one primary choice that affects each different ending you really get, so it's pretty easy to quickly bounce around, fast forward to the different questions that actually affect the endings and get the different endings. And before anyone asks, because somebody might point out, isn't there 6 spots in the ending thing and not 5? Just to point out real quick, that 6th slot is when you unlock the credit wall, which you oddly unlock late into unlocking extras. So there are indeed 5 endings, just FYI. FYI. So those are what I think. So let's get into spoilers. So 3, 2, 1. Spoilers! So, The Fox Awaits Me. The title literally is the setup for the game, because the fox has indeed been waiting for you, the main character. But there's a lot of tragedy around that. So, the tragic thing you find out, if you're getting the right pathway, getting the normal or true ending mostly reveals most of the truth, but the true ending kind of deals with a little bit extra with the female lead. Essentially, when you as a child was a bedridden second child who barely could do anything, and you spent basically all your life in a hospital. One day you went away from the hospital and you bump into a fox while trying to commit suicide at a tree. Yikes! Well, this little fox girl was abandoned by her family. She was not considered powerful, special, or worthy of her family, and they abandoned her. Now, if you're familiar with mythology, well, foxes in Asian cultures, I believe it's mostly Korean cultures that believe fox spirits may steal human life energy to either extend their life or grow better spiritual energy. I believe it's Korean mythologies with them, but Because I believe most Japanese, like nine-tailed fox mythology, usually deals with wanting to turn human and find someone to fall in love with. There are different takes on that, but essentially, she wants to actually become powerful. You want to die, so you offer her your life energy, and she accepts. Now, she can't get your life energy the best way, so she goes with the worst way, which is to eat your liver eventually. So after making that promise, after failing to be able to siphon it out through a little bead that they share between the mouths that absorbs life energy, they hang out for like a week and that, and then the day that she goes to eat his liver, she hesitates because she has fallen in love with him. Essentially, the irony is two characters that felt like they were worthless and had no meaning in the world found meaning in each other. Is essentially, it really reminds me, if you a long time viewer of my channel, a long time ago, I made a random video talking about a Korean animated film I saw on Netflix that was really sad. It really actually kind of reminded me of that situation a bit, because in Korean mythology, like I said, foxes are viewed to be more, fox spirits are viewed more evil as they try to steal life energy from people. And the little fox girl in that movie was in a similar situation. Well, she was more oblivious. She didn't really understand the concept of getting life energy from people, but she fell in love with someone as well. That, and it really reminded me of that. But essentially, they're dealing with the situation, and basically the afterlife has it out for the main character. Essentially, like you need to die. You're supposed to die. This is supposed to be your end. So he gets killed by the Grim Weepers, who are like they're like a corporation in the spiritual realm in this game. And the main character gets killed, but with his last dying breath, he tells her to eat him, and she does such with great regret and tears. So you might be like, well, if the main character got killed and eaten, like, how the fuck is this story happening? Well, she did not eat his left hand or his head, and she used life energy to preserve his soul. And where the title comes in place, the fox that awaits you, she rebuilt your body. Now, your original body was weak and feeble, and your new body was actually more able to do things than that. She basically used her magical hair to construct him a new body and to let him be alive again. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's like, so wait, you're saying his body is made out of her hair? Well, magic shenanigans. But admittedly, that was a wee bit weird plot twist to be like, so technically I'm actually kind of am dead? Kind of like a borrowed life energy in a way. But, because the story revolves around the kind of plot mythos of foxes stealing life energy to become more powerful. If you're familiar with different mythologies, it can give the player, and one of the characters does talk about it too, the idea that she might perhaps be using you to become powerful, but you find out that instead she's actually been siphoning her own life energy into you and taking your life energy into her, so the Gwen Weepers would kill her instead and allow you to live. Because to her, someone who was considered worthless to the rest of the world, you meant so much to her. It's like, because your character spends like the whole game wondering why this beautiful fox girl is so infatuated with him when he just seemed like a normal person. Admittedly, I could understand being like, what in the world is she seeing me? And it makes sense because you're like her only friend, the only person who had any considerable value to her. But depending on your endings, things can go away on the path to this, or you can get the normal ending. Well, they pretty much all live happily ever after. But a small thing is still left in the dark and is hinted in the normal ending. When you go through a certain route to get to the true ending, you find out you learn through a few different paths in scenes that she can create clones, which is a very common thing she does with her hair in the storyline. And you get hints or straight out told that her clones can sometimes take aspects of her personality or heart out of more than the others. Like one could be more happy, one could be more horny. They can be a bit more exaggerated into a certain emotion. And she has a emotion that actually really wanted to eat him, to eat the rest of him. And she made that a clone that completely embodied that feeling and abandoned it so she could never ever feel like that. The true ending basically deals with her needing it kind of like a wee persona-ish moment where she has to accept that part of her and live with it, and it just turns out it wasn't really a big deal. She just needs nibble on your neck to kind of fulfill that feeling of that, and in the end, basically you two she shares her life energy with you so you can both continue living. In the normal ending, they give your life energy to the Weepers, and she still shares half her life energy with you. But in the true ending, it's just pretty much everyone's cool, and we just continue on living that. So, I kind of oddly feel like the good ending, even though you don't get to find out about the small piece of her that she rejected that felt the need to actually eat him to become more powerful. I kind of feel like the good ending was a little more like more satisfying outside of that. But that's just a wee bit subjective-ish, obviously. But overall, my big criticism is that there aren't a lot of choices that matter. There are a few choices, but even with all those, there ain't a lot. And like I said, a few of them only dictate some of the changes in what will lead to certain endings. I got the true ending my first playthrough, so to me, I don't think it's too hard to get the true ending, but considering what you have to do to get the normal ending, I could see you very easily getting the normal ending too. So if you get the normal ending, don't feel bad at all, because at least the choice that I found that gave me that ending, completely doesn't seem to hint at any idea of that to me. But overall, I think it is an okay visual novel game with a few flaws that I feel like may need a little bit more time in the oven. But overall, I do have to say I feel like it's a wee bit overpriced at $44 on digital. And there's nothing extra special about the physical. There's no reverse art inside, which actually would have been nice, because there are some nice illustration artwork for this game. So they don't give you a inside illustration of the physical and no booklet or anything. So personally, I think a $29.99 price tag is a better price in my opinion. But overall, I did enjoy the game. I don't really think there's any odds of really getting a sequel to this game. I wouldn't mind necessarily seeing maybe a big, like, more story and maybe add some more characters, because the cast is really small. You essentially have 3 characters and talk about the Weeple group, and while one of the characters has a senpai teacher that doesn't actually really get to be shown or anything, they only appear and then disappear as quick as they came. I guess I could go over the extra stories real quick too. So the extra stories I thought were going to be like little short stories that might just add after, like, post game story, but really they're just kind of batshit silly, what if, non canonical, kind of weird shit. The The extra 7, which you unlock by playing extra 1 through 6, is just straight out ha fan service joke in your face. Personally, I liked extra 6 because it was a complete joke on Power Rangers with her clones. It's funny at that, but overall, I think the most memorable thing is actually the funny faces the characters make in this game. There's just something about the way she draws. Well, actually, technically, I don't know who drew the character. She, he, they, them, multiple people, singular little person. Whoever drew the characters' funny faces. How they drew them, like, I feel like there's an interesting kind of, you know, that kind of Japanese paintbrush kind of look? I kind of feel like their eyes have that kind of look when they're making funny emote kind of faces. I really like it, actually, myself. But I could see if you're wanting the story to stay more serious, I could see that being slightly annoying. Subjective. But if you liked what you seen, you know, you might be interested in experiencing the full context of the story for your own. Might want to wait for a sale, but of course, you know, I just give you what I personally think the game was worth. I paid $38 for this on PlayAsia. There was a slight deal. I think it used to be like 40 something, and it went down a little bit. But yeah, digitally it's 44. Probably could wait for an eShop sale, maybe. You know, Nintendo has a few common eShop sales, so maybe keep an eye out for if you're interested. But overall, those are my thoughts on The Fox Awaits You for the Nintendo Switch. It's currently, as far as I know, not available on anything else, including PC, as far as I know. So, as far as I know, it's only on Switch. So, if you have any questions about, feel free to leave a comment down below. Or if you're on Twitch, leave me a message. And if you feel like you learned anything interesting, feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to get in an argument with your anime waifu fox girl and probably lose because she's stronger than you. So, till next time, stay safe out there in the bamboo woods. There'll be danger out there.
どうだった？私の作った